There are 2,283 homes scheduled to be auctioned this week. That's up 13% compared to the same week last year. New South Wales will hold 812 auctions, with about 700 in Sydney. Victoria will hold 935 auctions, most of them in Melbourne. Queensland will hold 292 auctions, about half of them in Brisbane. In South Australia, there will be 151 auctions, most of them in Adelaide. Western Australia, the Northern Territory and Tasmania will hold 22 auctions between them. And the ACT will hold 71 auctions. Taking a look at the most viewed properties going to auction this weekend. In New South Wales, the top property is 109 North Rocks Road, North Rocks. This four-bedder sits on about 900 square metres with rear access to bushland. It's also close to the Parramatta CBD. And in Victoria, the top property is 1 Thaxted Road, Murrumbeena. This three-bedroom weatherboard home needs some love and attention, but it's priced accordingly at $750,000. The top property in Queensland is 10 Danzy Street, Greenslopes. This four-bedder has 3 bathrooms and parking for 3 cars. It's been extensively renovated and freshly painted. The top property in South Australia is 41 Ascot Avenue, Dulwich. This four-bedder is close to the Adelaide CBD, has large open-plan living areas, high ceilings and a large backyard. Asking price is about $1.5 million. And the top property in Canberra is 34 Campbell Street, Ainslie. This charming three-bedder sits on a large block and comes with solar electricity and a large kitchen. And the most viewed property on the REA Group website this week is a 4-bedroom house in the Melbourne suburb of Caulfield North. The address is 8 Octavius Avenue. This brick home is tucked away on a peaceful cul-de-sac in a highly sought-after, family-friendly neighbourhood. The single-level home has been extensively renovated with large living areas and an open-plan kitchen. The house has 2 bathrooms and space to park 2 vehicles. There's also a private north-facing backyard and a low-maintenance garden. The asking price for this one is $1.3 to $1.4 million, and the auction for this home is scheduled on May 12th. In property auctions, we see it's a busy couple of weekends across major capitals. Earlier, I spoke to Flaherty, economist at REA Group, for a preview of auctions and other property activity.
Yeah, it's a surprisingly high number of properties that are going up for auction at the moment. Normally we see a real dip post-Easter. I think what we're seeing is that there's been a real improvement in seller sentiment and also buyer sentiment. So what we're seeing is that even though there are a lot of homes heading to auction, clearance rates are still staying relatively high.
So when you say there's been an improvement in both, that's interesting because usually it's either a buyer's market or a seller's market. So which is it now, the auctioneer's market?
Well, I think that it actually is very much a seller's market at the moment. We're seeing that properties are selling very quickly. Even if they're getting passed in at auction, they're tending to get off the market quite quickly. We've also been continuing to see property prices rise across the country. We're seeing median home prices hit new peaks across most capital cities. So I think that there's a lot to make you quite confident if you're someone who's looking to sell at the moment. There are a lot of buyers out there. And I think from a buyer's perspective, the fact that interest rates have now held steady for quite some time is increasing confidence.
But there's even talk of a rate hike.
Yes, well, that remains to be seen. I think that it is relatively unlikely that interest rates will increase again. Yesterday's inflation figures were a bit concerning for some people, but they actually did continue that overall annual trend of downward movement. So hopefully we won't see another rate rise this year.
And what sort of trends are we seeing in the types of property up for auction or being sold?
Well, it's really a broad mix. Victoria, of course, is Australia's auction capital, and we tend to see that as a very popular sales method. So we're seeing everything from units to houses auctioned across Victoria. In the other states, New South Wales, auctions are quite common. The other states, however, not as common to see auctions there. However, it is interesting to see that in Queensland and South Australia, the number of sellers choosing auctions as a method has been increasing. So those markets have seen a really strong rise in the number of homes being auctioned compared to a year ago.
So what about people buying for investment versus to live in?
Well, we have been seeing property investors come back to the market, and I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that rents have been rising so rapidly.
No, tell me about it.
And And I think from the perspective of capital growth, it's sort of, we understand now that this undersupply of homes, whether that's to buy or to rent, is unfortunately an issue that's not going to go away anytime soon, which really means that capital values are probably going to continue to rise.
I've been reading about this mismatch in demand and supply, in that people are looking for turnkey homes, but what's actually being sold are many ex-rental, former investment homes.
That is true. Even though we have seen property investors return to the market, at the same time, we're also seeing them exit the market. And actually, for 5 years now, there has been a higher proportion of investors selling than buying. Now, this has actually dire consequences for the rental market, and it is one of the contributing factors to the rental crisis. I think as well, the fact that construction costs are so high, the supply of newly built turnkey homes is coming down. We're seeing dwelling approvals, new construction starts, all fall to decade lows. And of course, if you're someone who's looking to undertake a renovation, that of course has gone up as well.
So speaking of the rental market, this is really bad news for people looking to rent.
Look, the rental market is in crisis. Unfortunately, we don't see that situation improving meaningfully anytime soon.
I mean, rents are still going up very rapidly.
Yeah, we saw rents rise very significantly across all capital cities over the first quarter of this year. If we compare to 12 months ago, the only city that hasn't seen rents increase is Hobart. But over the quarter, Hobart rents actually jumped 4%. So what we're seeing is that all of the cities are moving upwards. And one of the reasons for that, the main reason, is that there's just very few properties available for rent.
And what about the types of people who are looking for rental properties? Is that reflecting demographic changes?
Well, we are seeing people in the rental market longer. So the age at which people buy their first home has been getting higher and higher and higher.
Who can afford it?
Exactly. And of course, migration has been really strong over the past 2 years. And we know that new migrants are much more likely to be renters than homeowners for at least the first 5 years. So that, combined with people, being trapped in the rental market longer, means that there's just a desperate need for more rental accommodation. But of course, at the same time, we are seeing the speed at which new housing is being built slow significantly.
And that issue is not going to go away anytime soon.
Unfortunately not. More houses, more units, they're the only solution, but that's not, we can't build homes overnight, so it's not a problem that's going to be solved anytime soon.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you
and
for having
Flaherty from PropTrack.